There are motor shrouds and then there are motor shrouds. This is the first one I've had that has a motor on top of the shroud that's belt driven. Isn't that cool? G'day, I'm Craig and this is RC Trail and Tech. This is the RCRun RUN80 110 scale 80 series Land Cruiser metal chassis frame builder's kit. It's based on the full-size Toyota Land Cruiser 80 series. Here's mine next to 100 series in my carport. This has front live axle with trailing arms and rear solid axles. The coils sit in their own rubber mounts, just like the real thing. The suspension's not quite accurate. The diffs are also not quite lined up with the actual 80 series, but it's pretty good. This is about as close as you're going to get as far as the chassis is concerned. I won't go into detail on what you get in the box. There are some really good quality videos already on YouTube regarding that, but I will discuss a few things I found during the build. I'll put some pictures up here while I talk. The transmission itself weighs a ton. It's really nice, very heavy, but the alloy quality is not particularly high, let's say. And also whoever put the screws into it was pretty ham-fisted. I had to enlarge and re-tap numerous threads. As you can see here, I'll show some screws and some metal. Getting the all the screws out of the transmission when I was pulling it apart during the build, it was messy. There was quite a lot of metal. So the rule for soft alloys, of course, is do it up till it bites. Only just nip it up. Never crank on this stuff. Same with the oil pan in your full-size car. When you're doing that thing back up, you never give it full muscle. You just nip it tight. That's all you need. The trimmings on top of the transmission are pretty nice. On top of the engine, rather, which is of course the motor housing. Now I've got the Axe 540 2100 kV system. I had to take a hacksaw to a couple of tabs underneath in the motor housing so I could fit this motor inside the housing, but it looks fine. You wouldn't know that I'd done some cutting. It was thankfully hidden on the bottom, and then everything goes on top of it. Looks really good. It comes with a little mobile phone vibration motor. I have yet to hook that up, but we'll cover that soon. It's got some little rubber bands that are reminiscent of the early Lego belt drives from 30 years ago, for those of you that remember what they used to be like before they went nice and round. The main fan is kind of wobbly. It's loose, but everything is sitting as it's designed, and it looks really good. The chassis itself came already together in the box. Just the body mounts were loose. You could tighten or remove them as you wish, and that was a straightforward exercise. The manual was surprisingly lacking. It had a few example pictures on it was a thick piece of folding card. It was colour, but it was nothing like the regular instructions you might expect from various other hobby companies. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible, and if you've got some experience building these, then you'll be fine. It just takes a little bit of head scratching. Here's a picture of the rear axle and arms. I've got the long arms on top when they should have been on the bottom, and vice versa. Little mistakes like that you will make potentially, but it does all come together. Everything has a place, and you do end up working it out. I took it out on the rocks before I did the body just to give it a shakedown. It was, as you'd expect for a Class 0 or C0, not hugely capable, and of course that comes down to the tyres as well, but it's a well sorted chassis. It sits well on the rocks. The suspension cycles cleanly. There's nothing that really sticks. Everything moves well, and the running gear is nice. It's a noisy transmission, but that's okay. When you give it some acceleration, it actually sounds a little bit like the old 4.8 litre petrol in the 80 series. It has a bit of a roar to it. So, as well as this, you need the body and interior if you're so inclined. The interior kit comes with an allowance for the steering wheel to move in time with the wheels. That's pretty cool. You need to add your own wheels and tyres, and of course the regular electronics. So you need a battery, motor and ESC, and servo for steering, a servo for the steering wheel. It does come with a little chattery analog one, but it's not very good. Just get another micro one, and of course your radio. Total weight of the vehicle is 2.7 kilograms. The wheelbase is 319mm, and I understand it's adjustable from 295mm to 343mm. So it's nice to have a bit of adjustability there. The stock adjustment point that it's at, 390mm, that fits perfectly the Team Raffee LC80 body, which is also RCRun branded. All of these things had to be bought separately though. This is the second one of these bodies I've had. It's well appointed. It fits beautifully onto the chassis. It's got a nice little setup where you put the front of the chassis rails into the inside of the bumper, and then you stretch or bend the back out over and down onto these pegs that are bolted onto the rear, and so it sits. The whole body's attached really snugly without any screws or anything like that. I think it will be quite resilient. Painting, I was very careful. Did quite a few layers, let everything dry nicely in between. It's got 5 or 6 coats of clear over the top, and it's had a couple of weeks to dry by this point. I haven't finished with the detailing on the rear yet, which is why it all looks a little bit plain, but overall the body looks great. I took a circular blade to the bonnet, or the hood. That was 4 long, very careful cuts and then some careful sanding, so now the bonnet opens. By default in the kit it doesn't. I haven't set up the hinge mechanism yet. I will probably do a video about that down the track. I'm going to 3D print, after I've designed in Fusion, I'm going to 3D print a set of bending hinged arms so that the bonnet can actually open realistically. For now I'm just using some nylon string lined clear tape, which works fine, but you know, it doesn't look very scale. So this is a project that is still very much in progress. I'm using a KillerBody Light Kit, which modulates the LEDs. It doesn't look great, which is why it looks like it's flashing on camera. The idea is it flashes more slowly to make them dim, and it flashes more quickly to make them look bright, all the way up to no flashing, just full power. It's a power efficient way of driving LEDs, but it doesn't look great. On that note, I've had a lot of trouble getting a decent light kit that actually gives you realistic function. We don't need everything flashing all the time when there's no signal. You don't want your brake lights lighting up brightly when you're reversing. You just want the reverse lights on. You want the brake lights to light up when there's no throttle input, or braking after accelerating, if that's the kind of car you've got it set up on. I've got an Arduino project where I've been working on getting lights a bit more realistic, and I'll put another video up on that at some point. I have an RC4 drive Beast 2 that had an Arduino driven sound, light, reversing sound and vibration built in that I designed from the ground up, so the whole thing kind of shook when the engine turned on, belched a bit of smoke, and then off it went. Anyway, the KillerBody Light Kit is sufficient, but you might want to look for some less blue LEDs at the very least for the headlights. These don't look great, but they're better than nothing, and I wanted to get this thing out on the trail and drive, and my driving time is usually in the evening. It's a heavy rig. It looks great. The steering wheel looks really good when you're steering and you see it there. I still need to put a little figurine in there, but it's a brilliant looking little truck. It's very tidy. Everything's nicely finished. It's a very fast kit to build because the chassis already comes semi-assembled, I suppose. The arms, the trailing and leading arms or links, they're really nice, especially the front ones. They're molded, they look exactly like the heavy steel ones underneath the real thing. Rubber boots and all. It really is, it's really nice. It's a very fun little rig to drive. Links will be below for the LC80 kit, the interior, the hard body, the AX system I'm using, the JX servo 45 kilo. I'm just using the cheap Team Raffee Steely beadlock wheels and their 1.2 inch tyres, and of course the KillerBody LED system. I don't know whether or not I'm going to drive this a lot. I don't own any single RC vehicle, and I never have. That is just a shelf coin, they always get used. But this might be the nicest as far as scale detail goes in the 110 scale that I've ever had. Would you run it? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you leave a like if this helped you in any way researching this particular vehicle. It's a very special little edition. I don't know how long it will be in production for, but if it was helpful or interesting to you, please throw a like there, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the tips and tricks I've got in store coming soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the trails.